I've seen this interesting, and this to me just shows where we're at as a society. Not only people don't know what our Constitution is, they don't know what it states, and they actually don't know what their duties are to it. Um, so, what our Constitution is each individual's restriction on government in a collective document. What it states a lot of things. A lot of things, for instance, that you believe are just the way it is, or constitutional today is just not true. For instance, our federal government and any tax on the people within the states. Uh, Article 1, Section Clause 17 is very clear about the federal government's jurisdiction, which is only within state or only within lands the federal government has purchased legally through the legislature of the many states. Their duties to are to enforce it. So let's see what this says. It says if you could go back in time and change one thing in the Constitution, which would it be? If other comment. So the first one's 2A update includes accessories, arms, types, acts, get no in French. That's already stated. The Second Amendment is very clear. We just have men in robes and a bunch of pussies that want to, want to change what that states, and they want to enforce their beliefs by force, because the monopoly on force the government has created. But it already says that the right to build and develop on our own land as we see fit. Well, you can already do that, but it's taxed, which is unconstitutional. And you never own nothing. Through legal, quote unquote, legal means, they have created a way that the government owns all land and you just lease it. Even if you pay 30 years for a house and property and it's paid off, you still never own it. Limit what the government is allowed to tax us on. Well, it already does that. However, we don't enforce that because people are ignorant of what it actually states, and they're ignorant that they have a duty to enforce it. Why? Because of this thing called legal and the monopoly on force and violence has been created. Those two things combine to let the government do what it do. Let's do what it wants today. Get rid of government-based registration of anything. Well, we already did that. Our founding documents doesn't allow the government to register anything that we own. It's a clear rights violation, which is unconstitutional. But if you go down through here and you read, I'm sure mine is blocked to anybody else that goes and looks at it. But go down here and read these, because all of these, the Constitution either already does, or they already have a duty to enforce, and they just don't. So the first one, the Constitution should include regulation and punishment for any of those infringe, particularly lawmakers. It does. It's called you enforcing it. And our Constitution is a contract between us, the people, and said government. Us, the people, being the only live beings within that are party to that contract, have a duty to enforce that contract, just like we would any other contract. We don't. So that one's no good. Already does it. I gotta say, those were great choices. No, they wasn't. I like the blind sniper, but when it comes to the Constitution, he knows what he's been told and doesn't actually know very much about it. A1, the freedom of speech shall be free for all and shall never be taxed. Well, it already says that. It doesn't need to say that. A right can't be taxed, because then it's not a right. This is a tough one. All the above wouldn't be terrible. All the above, them are dumb answers. Them are some of the dumbest answers. Only the law the state can enforce, or those people choose to follow. Sheriff Richard Mark, who is a tyrant. But the only laws we're supposed to have are those that coincide with the Constitution and natural law. So, for instance, murder. Murder, to be illegal, should be a law. To then be enforced by the people, not by government. And that's where it's slipping. People believe their government are their masters within this contract, and they're just not. If you can build and develop, we already read that one. For internal, you read that one. Property rights, free man, that one. Yeah, well, it already does that. We just don't enforce it. All the above, stupid answer. The government was already limited to what they could tax us on. They could tax us so unconstitutional that it took a constitutional amendment to make it legal. See, right there, the 16th Amendment is completely unconstitutional. It was passed in an unconstitutional manner. It wasn't ratified in the correct way, and the amendment process was only created to further restrict government, not expand it. More power over what is taxed. That's a really dumb answer. More power over what is taxed and what they do with it. Really dumb answer. Anyway, go check it out. Leave your comment on it. The Blind Sniper. Good channel. If you don't know him, you should check him out.